of June. So it's great to see so many of you actually here, and good to see the 4 of you on Skype or Team. So we'll launch straight into it. Are there any apologies? And due to our wonderful technology, there are none.
Yeah.
So items not on the agenda, I'd like to bring a late item to the agenda, which is the CEO contract, and at the end of the meeting, and public excluded. Do I have a mover for that?
I'll move that.
John, seconded. Robin. And the reason for that is there's an indication from Rob and the need to ensure, which is a critical priority for us, the health and well-being of the organisation. So that is the reason for the late item on the agenda. So is there any discussion on that? There being none, then all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
So Gary, Tony and Terry and Murray, you're all happy with that?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, we just can't see you there. All we can see is the 3 other guys online. Are we supposed to see the council?
Yes.
Well, it's not critical because we can see you, and as long as we can hear each other, I think that's the main thing. But the staff will look at the technical side. But we have that motion, so and so therefore it's carried. Everybody's in favour.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
I've now got the confirmation of the hearing minutes. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Martin, seconded. Murray. Is there any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, right, against, carried. We're now on to the annual plan deliberations report, and that is on my hard copy page of page 16. I'm not sure what copy you've got on your online one, but the page number is there. And I just want to reiterate that this is the deliberations as a discussion on these submissions post the hearings. The actual decisions on the annual plan will be at the next council meeting. So once we've done all the deliberations, there will be opportunity for a bit of fine tuning, and the final decisions will be at the next council meeting, which will potentially be around the 30th of June.
Yeah, the next council meeting is scheduled for the 23rd, but we're suggesting that the annual plan is adopted on the 30th to just give us an extra week to do QA and make sure that it's perfect. So it was a special council meeting just to adopt the annual plan.
Yeah.
I'm aware that on the 30th, that's the Whangamata Community Board meets that day. So I'm suggesting that it'd be a Teams meeting, but it's something that Terry and Gary just need to think about the timing and make sure that it works for them because of that double up.
Okay, that's fine. Or we could potentially think about timing the council meeting in relation to that as well.
Yeah, Steve has, through the chair, Steve has talked to us about that, and we've got a plan in place to try and make that happen on the day.
Thank you, Terry, appreciate it.
So it's, just to clarify, so the fine tuning, is that happening today?
No, so we get to where everybody's in agreement, and then it will be brought back, but the fine tuning is in case there's some fine adjustments that might need to be made or tweaking. I'm not sure, I don't know. We need to go through that discussion.
Right, I'm just sort of wanting to clarify the difference between fine tuning and let's take an item out.
Well, there just might need to be some adjustments between, but we certainly wouldn't be adopting the annual plan today.
No.
We need to give staff time to consider all of our decisions from today. Yep. And put them in appropriate format so that we have a complete annual plan to actually approve and adopt.
Right, I'm just sort of curious that if something gets changed, are we in a position to be able to within a reasonably short period of time, like in this meeting, know what effect that's having on the overall rates?
Yep, we will be in a position to be quite accurately able to say what the impact will be on rates today. We're set up to do that, and fine tuning would be very fine tuning. We really need a clear indication on pretty much everything today, so we can go away and make sure that it's all set up to adopt. So, yeah, we've got the finance team here, so we're actually set up this year to be able to track through any changes that we make to the CapEx program, any changes that we make to OpEx, and be able to give you an indication on what that does for rates. It might be prudent when we're getting to that point that we say might be a good time for elected members to have a coffee, just while we just, carefully calculate that. But that's the intention, that we'll be able to give you a very accurate number today on the rates increase. Remembering that it's a generalised rates increase and it differs ward by ward, property by property, and all of those other caveats that we've talked about.
So is everybody happy with that?
I've got a question.
Yes?
Yeah, just along with Martin's saying, is today's the debate discussion about the suggested long-term plan that the staff have done? Is that correct in terms of what they put into it?
No, we will not be discussing the long-term plan. We will only be...
Sorry, the annual plan, sorry.
Yeah. Are you with us, Terry?
Annual plan, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Terry. And those items for the long-term plan will be a discussion for another day.
Correct.
So that's, any other questions for the team? There being none, we'll move to, we won't look at the resolutions now, we'll come back to those. Yep. And we'll start with the attachment A, beginning on page 18. And this is the comprehensive report on the annual plan. So I'll go through it page by page so that if anybody has any questions, they can ask them. So for page 18 and 19, I'll make that 2 pages. Are there any questions?
18 and 19. So just, sorry, carry on.
It's probably worth noting that for page 19, the key point there is the feedback from consultation, which is attachment B. So the comprehensive report does link all the attachments together.
Are there any questions for page 20 or 21?
It's Tony here. I have a question in regard, round numbers. We went out with 10%. We've got an option on the table now at half that, 5%.
What page are you on, Tony, and what are you referring to?
It's a general question to get to the end, is what is the impact of reducing the rate by roughly half longer term? So is there going to be a catch-up period in future years, or does this actually get us back to not having to catch up? That's the bit that I'm not, having read all this, it's all well and good to halve it, but if a future council gets caught up having to make good, you might find out the rate increases 20%. So I just don't understand, having read all this, what is the long-term impact on rates going forward? That's a question for the staff, really.
Okay, yes.
Yep. Tony and to everyone else, this basically kicks the can down the tracks until the LTP so that we have a far more robust discussion during the LTP period. It doesn't make the situation any worse or any better than we faced at the beginning of this annual plan process. So basically, we're holding the line at this level for 12 months and we're having a far more robust discussion during the LTP as to regards to how we make savings, how we change service levels. So from my perspective, it's actually a common sense approach to enable this new council to talk about their service levels, to talk about any new revenue streams, and to talk about the capital programs that we project into the future. So whilst it's a kick in the can down the tracks, it's actually a very sensible kicking of the can because it enables us to have a far more robust LTP process.
Yeah, thanks
So
for that, Rob.
we still, so to answer your question, no, we still have to face addressing some of the challenges that have already been expressed.
Yep.
So any other questions? So this is, we're looking at page 20 and 21. There being no further questions on page 20 or 21. We go to page 22 and 23. Don.
Sandra, just two operational expenditure and adjustments. The number one, limited salary increase and restrictions on recruitment. I think that's actually very responsible. I thought staff were basically away 3 to 12 months. I think that's given what's happening out there in the real world. That's a great thing. The one I was just wondering about appointments, though, Sandra, for replacement staff that are leaving, whether each position should be reviewed to see if we can't actually maintain some for a second lid type policy, some sort of long-term savings in staff that way. Is that a possibility?
We do that already, John.
You
So
do
for the
that.
last three or 4 years, we've always had that view to whether, when somebody leaves, whether that position needs to be replaced, whether a different version of a position needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
So we always go through that analysis. So what we've done in terms of making the savings this time around is that we've actually locked in the over $1 million worth of savings that we have been making by using that policy.
Yeah.
The difficulty that we have is come the LTP debate is we haven't got that, let's call it float within the budget to play with next time around, so we're far more paired to the bone, but obviously we can continue managing the organisation, particularly the payroll, in that way. So we always have that analysis.
So just to be clear, did the councillors online understand or hear John's query or congratulations? So he was referring to page 22, item 1, where staff had recommended putting a hold on the recruitment of 12 positions and proposed that they will also have a freeze on remuneration across the organisation for the next 12 months, which is pretty amazing. So John was just thanking staff and congratulating them for that recommendation. So
Yeah, I've got a question if I can, through the chair.
Yes, Terry.
Yeah, I see these OPEXs seems to be the budget that seems to have a big effect on the rates reduction. I don't see with the reduction in capital project, the reduction in consultants. Would I imagine to see a reduction in the use of consultants over that period as well?
I'm sure that the reduction in consultants will be commensurate with the amount of capital works that we undertake and the work that we decide we want to do as councillors around the table. We all decide we want to do, and whether we've got the expertise in-house or not to do that work. So it'll be up to us to make those judgment calls as we call for work to be done or not.
Well, I'd expect some history on that. They've got no idea what that kind of savings could be in terms of money.
Well, it's all tied in with the different projects that are undertaken, Terry.
I know, so they're reducing some of them, so there should be some cost savings across the board there.
Well, they'll be implicit with the project which we decide not to proceed with.
I know, I'm just trying to be a bit open here and understand if the savings should be shown, if there's savings to be made.
Well, they are, because they're all in your capital works list of the projects.
There are some significant consultant savings too in the infrastructure program.
That's right.
The coastal protection budget, that's really a deferral from one year to another, is 188,500, and I would expect that a considerable amount of the Three Waters resource consent and investigation fees of 444,000 is consultants fees. Would that be right, Bruce?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, Bruce has confirmed that. It's a long way from the microphone.
So did you catch that, Terry?
Yeah, I'm picking that up. Yeah, I just want to see this open and so we can clarify exactly where the savings are.
There's nothing hidden, Terry. Okay, are there any further questions?
Yeah, I've got a question through the chair. Whilst I think there is some merit in this, I'd be interested really to hear from Rob that the danger I see is that if this is black and white, if a very good person turns up on our doorstep wanting to live in our district, and particularly say in the Thames area, who would add value to our organisation, I don't think I'd like to say, well, I'm sorry, for a year we're not taking on anybody else. And there may be projects that turn up. Indeed, there may be repair work, etc., that we have where if we don't go and get a consultant, we won't get an answer and we won't get the job done. So I'm just mindful of saying, hold the salaries, hold the staff levels, hold the consultants. But that could, could be an anchor around our necks if we don't have some flexibility and give Rob and his team the chance to say, God, I've got an expert person coming here who wants to come and live in the district, would add value to our organisation. And because of what we're talking about, we'll talk about it again in a year's time. So I wouldn't like to see us miss out on that opportunity. I don't think it'd be prudent.
Well, those sorts of matters can be brought back to the council by Rob for consideration and rethought in terms of out-of-cycle budget requests. But don't forget that if that expertise is there and it's for a capital works project, it'll be implicit in whatever budget we have set within the annual plan for that capital work to be done.
What I will say here, Tony, and it's a very valid point, and I appreciate you raising that. We are managers in this organisation. We have a set of group managers and myself that manage this organisation proactively. So if somebody is to leave, we will analyse what type of position needs to be replaced. If that salary is a big salary when people leave, well, then we've got more opportunity to appoint people that can fit within that salary cap that we've effectively placed within the organisation. So basically what we're talking about here is we will analyse what the organisation needs moving forwards based on the fact that we have a vacancy allowance. There is always going to be a float in a payroll budget because people come and people go. So we're going to manage the organisation with those budgets in mind, because those budgets are a guideline rather than an absolute cast in stone. We won't spend that money unless we have to, and we may overspend slightly if we get the right opportunity. But be very clear that we will bring that opportunity back to the chamber and explain what's going on during the CE's reports.
Many thanks.
Are there any other questions for page 22 or 23?
Yeah, I'd just like to raise one more if I could, please, through the chair.
Yeah, Terry.
The reduction in Three Waters resource consents and investigation fees by $400,000. Has Bruce got a comment on that? Does that mean our non-compliance notices and that? Is that affected by that?
Bruce is just walking up front.
So through the chair, yeah, Terry, we're working through a range of issues in our resource consents across the district, and what this effectively does, it just kind of draws out the program a little bit longer. So we're in touch with regional council on a weekly basis around all the issues that we're trying to work through in the backlog of stuff that we are progressing. But yeah, it does kind of drag it out a little bit, but we believe it's prudent at this stage, based on the situation that we're responding to, that we do that.
Okay, so you're feeling comfortable that we can move forward on that understanding?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, then we're moving over to pages 24 and 25. Any matters anyone wishes to raise on page 24 and 25? Just reading in here. Can I just talk about depreciation? Depreciation reserves not to what they originally were. There was some use of those back in the previous councils, and I'm concerned that when we come up for renewals, that money is not available and we have to borrow it to do those projects.
Is there any concern over that?
Just hang on a second, Terry. Donna's getting ready to answer that one. She's just moving up the front now.
Right, thank you.
Hi Terry. No, so we do still have depreciation reserves, and we've still got enough depreciation reserves to be able to do the renewals work that we've got going forward for the next, at least for the next year or so. So this recommendation for not funding the depreciation is not something that we're going to that we really recommend this time around, because if we do that, we would have to go back out to consultation, and it could even trigger an amendment to the LTP. So, but it is something that we could do, we could consider in the LTP if we want to, if we think that it's financially prudent to do so.
Yeah, we don't want to do that if we don't have to, for sure, because we need that money when those assets come up for renewal, that it's there.
That's right, we do, and it does have a longer term impact if we take that move.
So yes, capital projects are in this today to be discussed. Any renewals have depreciation money available to complete that work without taking out new loans.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for page 24 and 25? There being none, I'll just move to page 26. Any other question? Any questions for page 26? There being none, I'll move to pages. I'm just going to take all the submission analysis on block. And then I'll be taking page by page very slowly and person by person for the revised capital projects. But before we get to those, we've got the submission analysis. Are there any questions to be raised from the submission analysis?
I just wanted to note that, I just wanted to thank staff for the effort in that report. They've obviously analysed hundreds of different pieces of paper, and it's very clear summary about what was important to submitters. So I just wanted to thank staff for that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's really Joe and Kate and the team, and they have worked incredibly hard on it, Hilary and Leslie as well. And yeah, you don't get this much analysis in an afternoon. But it is clear. I like that the themes, and those themes have been taken into account, by the management team as we come back to you with the recommendations. So they flow through.
So I hope staff took note of that. So we'll have that recorded things as well as John's.
No, I've got a comment to make too, if I can, through the chair.
So Terry, yes, Terry.
Yeah, I've read those annual submission analysis, and I thought it was very good put together. But really, what it's saying, guys, is that there's a message coming through from our ratepayers, our shareholders, and that's saying they're looking for change, they're looking for a rejig in what we do. So I hope we don't just walk past this and forget about this and move on. We need to really drill down on these and figure out exactly what we're doing. Are we spending the money in the right areas? Are we getting value for money? Is the cost of business too high? So I just hope people reflect on that as we go forward.
And as we keep reiterating, Terry, those are the discussions we will be having for the long-term plan.
And I think those themes will be useful for, that report can be part of the pre-consultation process for the LTP. So a useful sort of stream of information, I think.
Thank you, Stella.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So there are no matters or questions in regard to the submissions. So we'll now move to page 63, and this is the capital projects proposed for the 2020-2021 annual plan. And we're going to go through this page by page, and we'll take it carefully for each councillor. It's online particularly. So we're now on page 63. And still,
could I just provide a little bit of context to this before Bruce works through the detail? So one of the, I guess, silver linings from a COVID perspective is that our capital works program this year has slowed down a lot. So as a consequence, for capital works, the impact on rates, it's the year following, because the year following is when you're paying your interest and you're starting to depreciate. So the slowing down of delivery in this year has meant that there is a 1.6% reduction in the requirement for rating in the annual plan. So that is locked in. So the conversation that you're having today is around what capital projects will be in the annual plan. And of course, the same sort of logic applies. The more you put in, the more pressure that will put on the LTP year one. So I just thought I'd put that out there, that at the moment, that 1.6% reduction is locked in. And then Bruce is going to work through ward by ward and then district by district. Got finance team up the back to capture any changes as we go. And what we're proposing to do at the end is to have a really clear resolution that says, for the annual plan, there's a capital works program of 30 million split up as follows: Thames, this amount, this amount, this amount. So it will line up specifically with the spreadsheet that we've got. I'm sure it'll be slightly different from what's in the order paper, and then we're good to go. So we can absolutely lock that in. It's really important for the capital works that we do get it locked in as best we can, because the finance team needs to spend the next 2 or 3 weeks getting it all loaded up. So I just wanted to put it in context about the impact of CapEx being delayed 1 year on rates, and the impact of CapEx, because it's borrowed, is less than OpEx. It's generally about 10%. It's a gross generalisation, but generally about 10%.
So generally, if for instance, there was a project of $100,000 on for instance, Thames capital projects, if that was taken away or added back in, what effect is that having percentage-wise?
If it was...
I mean, I know it's hard to say exactly, but...
So at a district level, $7.5 million of CapEx impacts 1% on rates.
Right.
However, if it's locally funded, it is a slightly different calculation because, but that's the general rule.
But it's still within that.
It's less once it's locally funded because there's less ratepayers. So yeah.
Can I just add something else to that too? I'd just like to thank all of the community boards, that includes the councillors, because everyone's worked pretty hard and been quite proactive about identifying projects that could be dropped or deferred. And that's also happened through a number of submissions, identifying projects that could either be dropped or deferred in favour of the ones that were critical and the less critical. So I think that's really important. Thank you very much to everybody else for all their hard work from the elected members. So, as I said, we're on page 63. So, are there any matters for anyone to raise on page 63?
So you go first, and then I talk about the library books.
You can talk about the library books.
That's a significant decrease from 83,000 to 8,300 in expenditure on library books, and I would like to have a discussion about increasing that to maybe 50% of the budget or something more than 10%. I think that the library is a valuable service. We saw in the last audit risk non-financial reporting that the library users are up, the library books being taken out are up. So it seems an important place not to be cutting at this stage. So do you want to comment on that?
So through the chair, so I'm going to provide a little bit of context around the capital program. So the way I'll just explain how we built up this capital program. The way that I looked at it initially, and I worked with the team on this, was that we heard what the submitters said, and there was a very clear message coming through about cutting costs and cutting capital. So what I did is I started looking at the capital projects across the full district. I basically cut them right back initially to essential services. So bringing back to the roading, the three waters, those kind of things. And then I started building it back up from there. So And I suppose I thought about it like how you would think about it if you're at home and you've got like a real, a decrease in your income at home, how you're going to approach things. So I looked at the essentials, let's keep those in, and then started building all the others back in there. So for some of the important stuff across the three waters, parks and reserves, we've got renewals. And in renewals, I took out a 30% decrease in renewals for 1 year. I did take out a significant amount from the library books, so I took out 90% out for 1 year. And this is not the kind of thing that you'd be doing year on year. So, and I suppose I looked at it, and we had to look at it quite hard. This is a extremely unusual situation that we find ourselves in. So I've taken what some might consider some unusual steps. And you can't do this every year, but from my perspective, I looked at it, and I'm happy to have a discussion, but I looked at it that for 1 year we take a pause, and we only have that 10% in there. Now, obviously, if we're getting a lot of requests coming through the library over the year for additional books that we don't have, that can be something that we purchase those books, and if we need to come back to council and say, look, we're getting all these requests coming through for additional books, we can bring that back to council and have that discussion at council and say, look, this is the demand we're getting from our libraries, this is what people are looking for. Do we want to do it out of cycle and bring some more money back into that budget? So that's kind of how I approached it. I've also looked at it from, I guess like you would at home, that if you're in the crunch, maybe you can't buy as many magazines and books as you would do normally, and you have to look at other things. You still need to maintain the safety around your home, in the same way we have to maintain safety around the district with our, our playgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So I haven't suggested cutting those right back. So that's basically how I've kind of approached it. So I don't know if that gives you a bit more context, but
very well put, Bruce.
So for me, in terms of the definition of essential services, and I am absolutely only talking for Thames now, most people in Thames would consider library really important. I'm not going to die in the ditch about whether it's 90% reduction or a 50% reduction, as long as people are really clear that this is for an extraordinary year and it's not going to continue. So we either, up to 50% reduction I could live with, and if we can't persuade others to do that on our locally funded part, well then really clear indication that I'll be fighting very strongly to put it back up in the long-term plan, because this is an essential part of the life of Thames.
And I think also there was a very, very low number of submitters who said that the book should be deferred. I think it was like half a dozen or 7 or 8 across the whole district.
Sorry.
Yeah.
From my perspective, libraries are important, library books are important. I'm a big fan of books. However, as Sally said, this is an extraordinary time, this is an extraordinary year. And because it is just for the 1 year, I'm happy with the proposal that's put forward. But in supporting Sally, to be absolutely clear that it is just for the 1 year. And so that's a lot of submissions for the long-term plan. And I know, because I know what it's like for Thames. Yeah. But that's okay. And it's, everyone has to make sacrifices, including those people that support and back libraries so strongly. So there has to be sacrifices right across the board. Everybody's got to give a little for us to get a cohesive whole and get something really strong. So are there any other comments from councillors? So Tony.
Well, my comments really in support of what Bruce was saying, and that is these are extraordinary times and we're dealing with an issue for this year, and the focus needs to be on core services, and everything else certainly needs to be seriously scrutinised. And so for me, when we get down to Whitianga later on, libraries is an expense to forgo, community grants to go, because you can't be all things to all people. So we've heard loud and clear, people aren't happy with the rates. We're not necessarily happy with that either. But if you're going to address it, we need to carry on and do what we are here to do, and that's the core services, and everything else gets seriously looked at and reduced. So I go back to Whitianga, the cost to each ratepayer in Mercury Bay for our library is $100 a year. That's an awful lot of money on your rate for a very small part of your community. But I support the reduction as Bruce described, and I can't add much more to that.
Murray?
I believe we've got to go back to core services, and that'll be reflecting in my comments when we come to Whitianga. I think some of the nice to haves, the fluffies, have got to go, and we've got to get back to the not the wants but the needs.
Thank you, Murray. Gary?
Well, I reinforce what the last Terry and Murray have said. Core services are what our main role is, and we have to, in these times, aim for that.
Thank you, Gary. Terry?
Yes, I agree with the comments going there. Just to ask about the footpath construction and rehabilitation.
Hang on, Terry, so we're just finishing off the library discussion, Terry.
Yeah, I've done the library discussion. Yes, I agree with what's been suggested there for this year only.
Thank you. We'll get back to you with on the other stuff.
Can I ask a specific question about that then? So I don't have a good handle on, I know we've got the district rates will be 9.98%. It's going to vary according to what we have in each of the wards. So how much of an impact is increasing the library books from 10% to 20% to 50% going to have on the overall rates for this area? What percentage?
Well, we won't know until we do a cumulative total of all the adjustments you want to make.
Exactly.
So there has to be a running total, but the first thing you've got to get is majority support for your position.
So you can't even look at those numbers without majority support?
No. Well, you could, but I don't think we're going to take the time to do that on every subject where we can't get majority support.
So if we're saying that, all I'm saying is, as a Thames person, because we hear a lot about other places, consider libraries part of our essential service, and if we swallow this fish, we will not be swallowing it at the long-term plan, and for me to be representing Thames, I would need it way back up to what it was, and Thames will fight for that, and we are different than other libraries in the rest of the peninsula.
Thank you. No, it's absolutely fine. I totally understand that, and rightly so. So, are there any other comments? We're just tidying off the library one.
Yeah, my comment back to that again, as I was trying to explain before, can Thames councillors look at those numbers there and decide to take some out and move it around so they can get what they want? In other words, looking at things like footpath rehabilitation and taking that money and putting it back into libraries. Is this what we can discuss today?
Oh, right, okay, so I get the suggestion you're making, Terry, is that in meeting the Thames requirement for library books, is there an adjustment you can make elsewhere on monies that's going to be spent where that could not be spent, and you increase, decrease one other budget and increase something else?
And that is something that we can look at as we go through. But when you come to things like footpath rehab, and I'm taking Bruce's expertise and his team that we need that much to provide a safe place for our residents to walk, etc. And so I don't feel as if I can gaily say, well, we'll take 10,000 off that to put it in library books, because engineer has made a decision about what we need for our footpaths. So that's the sort of thing I'm working on.
Well, you could take it off streetlight renewals.
That's right.
Could we, Bruce?
So through the chair, so I guess what you can do anything really.
Yeah.
You could do.
Well, no, we can't.
Retract my statement.
Can I make a comment? Basically, with footpath renewals or streetlights, when a streetlight goes out or a hole appears in a footpath, you have to replace it. With a library book, if you do not buy a library book, there is no obligation to have to replace it. And that's the That's what Bruce has built into these budgets. It's built in to say, realistically, we know we're going to have costs in areas where there are health and safety or security type issues, and these are the budgets to the best of our abilities that we have suggested are relevant. So my extreme advice to you would be try to not cut core infrastructural asset costs at the expense of something that nobody is going to break an ankle if they don't trip over the library book that we haven't purchased. Good. So again, if the worst case scenario were to occur, and in 6 months' time we had a queue of people at a library saying, we need these books and you've run out of budget, staff would be more than inclined to bring a report back to council at that point in time to say, we may need another $20,000, are you up for it at this point in time? Because you know that there is no serious implications with the library books, but it's a risk that we are going to run out of material for people in the library environment, and it is very much a part of our everyday life for many, many people. But it's less risk than any of the infrastructural stuff.
Right, so Amber,
can I go down to the Rose Park grandstand?
yeah, we're on this page,
On this
page
page.
63. So anyone has any questions around page 63? Absolutely.
So
I beg your pardon, Sally's got the floor.
So there was a plan to do a lot of work on the grandstand for Rose Park. There is removal of that project, and we're doing a smaller project to get it ready for its 150th anniversary. There is energy in the room to keep that within the LTP considerations. My understanding of that land, am I talking too loudly?
No, actually fine, because you need to talk loudly for the online.
Is that we will never get a resource consent that is a floodplain. It's becoming more of a floodplain. And I think we're at a point with the rugby associations and those committed volunteers out there that they know that they have to move hopefully onto the new land that we are in the process of getting the right planning for, etc. So I personally, and I know there'll be people in the room that won't agree with me, think that this is the correct and logical thing to do, because we have to get real about what's going to get consent or not, and that just does not make sense to commit on that bit of dirt. I will fight for the other bit of dirt, but not this one. So I just want to make that clear. Others may have a different opinion.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think that's part of the reason why it's probably gone to the long-term plan.
Well, it's out of the long-term plan. That's what I think.
They tend to move.
Yeah.
So through the chair, I think that's all accurate. I guess what I'd say is that irrespective of any other project, you wouldn't want to go and spend that money in that location on that grandstand.
No.
Based on what Councillor Christie said. So
and it's not deferred into the long-term plan.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone. That's what I wanted to make clear around the room, is that it's gone. That money. And I know people don't.
I think we can.
So through the chair, what I'd say is that nothing's gone like off the table from, people coming up with stuff in the long-term plan. But what we're saying at the moment is that there's no intention to say the work on that grandstand where it is, let's kind of carry that on, let's put that into the long-term plan.
Can we put that into for consideration for the long-term plan, because it's not.
It would be financially imprudent to budget for a grandstand that cannot be built in that location.
Yeah.
So we will be putting in the long-term plan funding,
Yes.
so that long-term teams can have a ground appropriate for rugby or the.
Put it this way, everything's up for discussion during the long-term plan consideration.
Yeah, but what I'm wanting to make clear around the table is that we won't be spending money on that floodplain.
No, that's right. No, get that.
And the people in the room don't agree with me. I just want to acknowledge that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay, are there any other discussions?
Yes, please. I got two.
Yes, Terry.
So can I just ask about this $320 worth of toilet renewals? One is for 183, the other 135. Are these TIF funded toilet renewals?
Yes, that's correct, Terry.
So they have to be done to meet that TIF funding requirement?
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, the TIF money that we're getting from central government is tied to these projects.
So because the tourism has dropped off, what's the story if these were delayed?
So I guess if you delay them, we might not get that TIF money from the government.
We have a contractual timeline to meet.
What's the contractual time, Rob?
We have signed a contract with the ministry to deliver the project within a certain time frame.
And
So
what's
it's
the
a
time?
I don't think we've got that time frame on our, at hand at the moment, Terry, but what Rob's saying is that whatever we've committed to with the ministry previously is what we're committed to if we want to maintain that funding from central government.
Bruce, we need to know what's the time frame. You know what the TIF funding is. What's the time frame to get it done? Don't delay that discussion. You know what you're doing. You've done these before.
So the plan was to get it done this year, or...
The plan is, what's the time frame to meet the government requirement? Do you get the money?
Don't have that on hand, Terry. If you'd asked the question before the meeting, we could have. So we'll have to try and get that for you, so that you're aware of it. So, but we can't do that right now.
So you've done heaps of these. This is not just the first off. There's heaps of them.
So Terry, the plan was initially to do it in the 1920 year. We haven't been able to do it in the 1920 year due to the COVID-19 and other things. And so we've got it extended into next year. So there's a number of projects where they've accepted that they'll either be done in the 1920 year or the 2021. We don't have any approval to do anything out further than that.
So you say it's got to be done by the end of 21?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know, thank you. The other one was around the footpath construction. Are these paid through depreciation? Donna?
If they're renewals projects, they are.
So through I think what you're talking about, Terry, is not a renewal project. So for example, there's one in Pātui Ave, which is the Thames Community Transport Thames footpath construction of 78,450. So that wouldn't be a renewal, it's a new one, and that contract's already let, so that's why we're suggesting we're committed, we've got to carry on with this one.
And the rehabilitation? Is that depreciation?
They would be funded partially from depreciation.
Partially from depreciation. Okay. So I'm just throwing these up there to say how critical they are, and is it going to impact the ratepayers, or is there money in the budget for it without going loan funded? So you're saying both these, you're not loan funding, you're just using money that you've got available.
20,000 there.
Yeah, not for the new one, but for the one we just talked about, the rehab one, yes.
You got what? Yes, what? Loan funded or yes, depreciation?
Depreciation partially for the rehab one, and for the Thames footpath construction, that's a new project, so that won't be funded from depreciation reserves. So that would be loan funded.
So again, to the Thames councillors, this is an impact on your rates. Is this a priority? And I thought Sally thought it was, but
So Terry, just before we get into that, it's a priority from we're contractually obligated to deliver that with contractors. So we've signed the contract with them. We have to deliver it. So yeah.
So this was already on the books for some time and had been tendered out.
It would have been completed this financial year if we didn't have the COVID-19 situation.
okay.
So these are all the things that have been taken into account by staff when they've been doing the reassessment of all the capital works projects.
I'm just putting it out there so we understand.
Are there any other questions, Terry?
Not on that page, thank you. No.
Gary, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Murray? No. Tony?
No, I'm clear. That's Thames.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So anything else for Thames?
So that was no changes at all as a consequence of that conversation?
No, it looks like there's no changes for page 63. We're now on to page 64. John, any questions here or queries on page 64?
No, there's a couple of things there we'd really love to have had, but we are prepared to swallow the rat as far as the Premier netball courts go. And the other bits and pieces, we'll take our pain. I've got no comments on that. I can accept it as it is.
Good on you, John. Any other questions from anybody in regard to page 64?
I haven't got my community board chair here. Do you, any comments you've got?
No, I like your comment that we'll take our share of pain.
Good on you, Peter. Appreciate that. Any queries or questions from online? Murray,
Yeah, I got one. Just the public conveniences again. Are they TIF funded projects again, Bruce?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's fine. No, they've been quite prudent up there, so no problem with me.
Mary, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we're on to page 65. I don't suppose anybody, oh, sorry, Martin.
So I just had a query with the bike park.
Yeah.
So there has been local fundraising and grants?
There is, and that is still happening. That's just simply been removed from CapEx into OpEx. So still there.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Martin, sorry. Page 65, I don't suppose anybody's got any questions for this page, have they?
No.
I just thought I had to throw something in there.
Tony's smiling.
Okay, Martin, did you have a question?
Let Tony go first.
Right, okay, sorry, boys. Murray and Tony, do you have any questions for page 65?
Yeah, on the CapEx for minor reserves projects, the original budget was 151,681, reduced to naught. We would like to increase that to somewhere between 50 and 100, because otherwise things go on in your reserves and you can't do anything about them at all. The Poorangi boat ramp had 81,000 in it. We're suggesting that can be reduced to 61. And my understanding is Steve Bremner has got some background information on that as the project manager that can help you out. In terms of the Sheriff Block development, funds are needed to complete the planning, design, consenting, etc. And we're suggesting 80,000 for that. Now, when Bruce was over at our community board meeting, there was a number mentioned, but didn't get the exact figure written down. And the other one is for the Whittianga transfers.
Well, district. It's district.
Okay, so you've got, how many have you got altogether on that page?
On that page, that's it. The other one's a District 1 for CapEx.
Okay, well, let's just take each one by one then. So what's the first one is your...
Minor reserves projects.
So your reserve projects, and that is where on which reserve project?
I think it's 2307, about 10 down.
Yeah.
Is that the cumulative amount? Or what are you wanting there, Murray, Tony?
Well, there's no budget there at the moment. We're wanting to put between 50 and 100 into it, just so you can
Do something.
in your reserves as it happens, and often it's damaged.
This is the same as we had a couple of years ago when they wanted to skin it out to nothing, and we put it back to 150 because you need some leeway on minor reserves.
Yes.
Hello, who's that? Great, thanks guys. So I'm still not sure where we are on this one. You're right. Is that one there?
But what we're saying on Poorangi boat ramps, we know the actual is going to be 20,000 less, so you can take 20,000 out that 81.
Sorry, Murray's talking to
Right, so you're looking for 50,000 to be put back in.
Yeah, we'd be happy with 70,000.
What, you want 20?
We put the new 50 and take 20 off the Poorangi reserves and that gives us 70.
That's a lot of library books.
And then what we're saying on the sheriff block there's a contract with Greenstone, which we've known about and we all know about, that went through council. So there's a contract with Greenstone. We know that we've got an extra year's leeway there before Greenstone are going to have to use it. What we're saying is we need some money there just to provide so that when it does come up the following year, that work will shovel ready. Otherwise, we'll be floundering around trying to get design work and won't have it shovel ready 2 years out, have it finished 2 years out.
Well, it's going to be, that's coming up for discussion on the LTP.
No, you missed my point, Sandra. We need some design money so that we can have it ready.
Well, that's a bit of a nice to have, isn't it?
We've got to be a contract, well, as I understand it, December 2022. Am I correct, Rob? They want to hold concerts there now.
Correct.
So how much are you talking?
2021 can be held on the waterways.
Yeah, how much? Money? How much?
80K.
80K? You want 80K?
Well, I don't know how much it is. I'm asking staff to give me a guide.
So you're only giving up 20?
80K would be right.
80K.
Sure.
Okay, so that's.
And these up for discussion or what?
Yeah, they are up for discussion, but I'm just getting from the boys exactly where we're going with the different projects. So they're wanting, we still didn't, I haven't finalised how much you wanted for that reserve project. Is it 20,000 or 15?
No, we took reserves.
Minor reserves, we said take 20 out of the Pūrangi one and add another 50, so we've got 70.
Right,
One's up, one's down, I think.
Huh?
Well, I think if you have a look at the big picture, you'll find out that the biggest reductions are here. So we have a look at
I don't think anybody's worried about that.
district and area.
Well, they're not.
So I think the suggestion is that there's 50K added into the reserves line.
Yeah.
Correct.
20K removed from the boat ramp, and 8,000 added to sheriff block, which would be a net position of adding 110.
That's
So
it.
we're up.
Were there any other changes on that page for you?
Not for the Mercury Bay CapEx.
No.
All right, so that's a total of 110,000 added.
Because I thought it was 50 plus 20 in the minor reserves.
So they're taking 20 off the Pūrangi projects.
Well, let's clarify.
All right, so we just clarify that again with you, Tony and Murray. So you've got, you want
Clarify.
50,000 added to your Parks and Reserves, Mercury Bay minor reserves projects. Is that right?
No.
50,000 and the 20,000 from Pūrangi to bring it to 70.
Hang on just a minute. So we, all right, okay. Oh, so
And then total is 130. Stephen had
can I just make sure that we've got the right, you're wanting to put it to the Mercury Bay minor reserves projects, is that right?
It's going to be 70,000.
Yeah, you're wanting to put it to the Mercury Bay minor reserves projects, is that where you're wanting it?
Correct. Correct.
Right, great, thank you. And you're wanting 70 now, not 50?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why 70? What's wrong with 50?
Because we're pulling 20,000 out of the Pūrangi boat ramp and dropping that from 81.
Yes, but you're adding 80 to the sheriff block, so why 70 instead of 50?
Because we think we're going to need 70. We dropped it from 150 and we went through the same debate with you a couple of years ago where we all agreed we really needed 150. Now we're coming back to half that again. We're biting the bullet pretty hard.
Right. So the delta is 130.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. I had it at 110. So I was.
So can I get the importance of the share of money from staff, please.
We're contractually committed now with the Greek Fund Entertainment facilities at the Sheriff Block for 21-22 years.
So who's put something on here?
I think Gary is,
Is somebody doing the vacuuming back there?
Gary, you need to mute, please.
And
So-
Sandra, also remember the sheriff block, that is subject to a lease and that will be repaid back over a 10-year period.
Yeah, but it's also under contract too, Murray, so.
So what we're saying is that that money needs to go in, there is no discussion about that, is that what the staff are saying?
That's right.
No, we need to discuss this. I'm not for this.
Yeah, but that's right, Terry.
Yeah, we're losing focus here, guys. We're right in the middle of a pretty serious time, and adding money on a maybe need basis is not what we're trying to achieve today, for Christ's sake. What we're trying to achieve today is to remove and be prudent with our spending, be fairness and equity, and we should be taking money away and doing the essentials. And I'm going to ask Bruce again, there's quite a lot of reseals and things like this. Is this contracts that are in place?
The majority of them, I'm happy to go through them individually, Terry, but as a general statement, we've got a lot of contracts committed, a lot of works that were deferred based on COVID-19 that we are contractually committed to do. And going back to the one we started on, which was Sheriff Block, as Rob was saying, we're contractually committed with the entertainer on that one. So we need to carry on with that one, and that's why we're saying 80K to carry on with that one.
What about the Ha car park, and what about the other ones? Let's go through them one by one then and just say, are these contractually committed or not?
Okay, cool. What are you talking about there, Terry?
Right, Terry, ask for them one by one, please.
Yep, okay, the Ha Beach car park, that's $50,000. Is that important to do now, or can that be deferred?
Just let me find it, Terry.
What number is it?
261.
1308.
So we're doing $50,000.
Yeah. So is that doesn't look like to me to be a commitment. That's 50,000 out of 139,000 projects. So it doesn't sound a commitment to me.
I'm sure a lot of
Until Tip Lady speaking, Your Worship, perhaps I could just clarify just on some of these, the detail, and just to help Bruce out on some of these. So that Ha Beach.
That'd be good, thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you. So that Ha Beach car park, the budget there was $189,000. We are suggesting that be reduced down to $50,000 from the community board. And the reason for that is to continue with the planning and design, to complete our negotiations with DOC, because part of that car park is actually owned by them. So we will be taking over management and control of the DOC part of the car park. So it's to complete all that work, and it's to go through the design and consenting for it. That's what the 50,000 is for. So
that's
to answer
not really
Walker's question, the answer is no, it is not. It is not absolutely essential, but there is a community expectation that we would proceed with it. But there's certainly no contractual obligations in place in relation to that.
And what about the Mercury Bay Reserves car park, $36,000?
So that one's contractually committed, Terry.
Okay. We'll go up to the Tapu Pier walkway and footbridge, 469,000.
So Alan might want to talk about that one, but that one's basically it's partly done and it needs to be finished.
Yeah, that's contractually committed. That's all contractually committed.
Is there still $469,000 to be spent on it?
You're looking one line up. You're looking one line up, Terry.
Oh, sorry, the 159,000. Sorry. Yep.
Yep, that's the contract that's committed. Yep.
It's contracted, Terry.
I'm listening. And the next one down? $160,000.
Through Your Worship, that is not currently contractually committed, but that's been through a major consultation process with the community at Whangapoa. There is a major community expectation that has been created. The community board is very keen for that to proceed. If it didn't, there would be significant loss of credibility for the community board and the council if that work wasn't to actually proceed.
The decision excuse me, that Tony and Murray want 130k more, and they should be looking at removing something else to make it room for it, not adding it on, because they're already at $2.2 million when the other community boards are really pushing hard to try and keep this below, and I think they should make an effort to reduce.
No, Terry,
3 million out.
no, Tony, I'll take this. Look, Terry, they have made an effort. Please just focus on the job at hand and not let's just respect what every other party has done.
I'm not picking on them.
In regard to the questions you're raising, can I just ask Alan? So the Mercury Bay Amenity Tire Reserve Development, the 160,000 is purely for consultation that is to be done, but not currently being done.
Through your worship, no, the consultation and everything else is all completed. So the community is expecting this work to be done. So the 160,000 is to actually do their work on the ground.
But nothing's been committed, so we could put it out for a year.
That's correct. There is no contractual commitment in place. It's just a loss of credibility issue.
Right, okay, so that's fine, but I think that everybody understands the extraordinary situation we're in, and I think that it will need to be considered as we look at decreasing or increasing the figures on this page. So, is there anything else you want to question, Terry, about contractual obligations, which was your query?
Yeah, well, I just go back to Bruce and ask him, is there any other in there that is signed to complete or not signed to complete projects?
Alan, you may be able to help with that.
Through your worship, I don't think there's any other actual project work that is in there that's not committed. There is a lot of work like all of the renewals and footpath construction and those types of things that are annual budgets that have all been reduced from last year's figures anyway. But no, I don't think there's anything else in there that's that can be taken out. Or perhaps we should highlight the skate park, the 469,000 for the skate park. That's not contractually committed. The contract process is underway, but it's not final. It hasn't been completed yet. But that's the one where the community has raised significant funds towards that particular project. So again, there would be significant loss of credibility for the council if that didn't proceed, and if we didn't continue to meet the fundraising campaign that's been conducted by mainly by young people in our local community.
So Alan, with that,
hang on, Terry, I'll just see if Bruce wants to add to that.
No, Alan's comments are all correct, and I'm happy to take questions on individual projects, Terry, but I can't give you an answer globally across all the range of projects.
So Terry, back to you.
Yeah, well, I just think, again, I just hear from what Alan's saying about the skate park. If you read the submissions, there's quite a strong feeling from Whitianga that they are concerned about costs and looking to reduce them, and I'm sure they would look favourably at something that could be deferred, not cancelled, in a short-term period to give them some opportunity to come out of the other side of this, knowing they're going to get a $100,000 mortgage on their house any rate going forward. But and I'm just asking Murray and Tony to give that good thought, because we're all in this together. We're all trying to do it right.
Thank you, Terry. Sally.
I just wanted to follow up on the Hahei car park, and there was talk about $50,000 just in terms of international tourism not probably happening this summer, whether there isn't a contractual necessity for that, whether that is 50,000 that could be deferred for 1 year, considering our tourism is going to be down, and so the parking issues will be less. And that would make another 50 contribution for what's been added.
Well, I've got a suggestion to make, which leaves all of the budgets as they are, which adds in the 80,000 and the 70,000 that Murray and Tony are seeking for the reserves and for the sheriff block, without reducing the sum for the Puringi boat ramp, and without affecting any of the other figures. If we just shift out for 1 year the Mercury Bay Meritatai Reserve Development, we can put that out for 1 year, and that would tidy everything up for being able to achieve all of those other figures that you're wanting, and so that those projects aren't sacrificed. I think that's a win-win all round, and I think people would appreciate the reasons for doing that, because I think it has been, I'm quite supportive of the skate park, even though it hasn't been committed to. But I think if we just shift out that Meritatai Reserve, then that takes care of all those other projects that you want to add to Murray and Tony. What do you think about that?
Well,
it's a tidy solution. It is a tidy solution. Does everybody see what I'm trying to do?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but I would still like to raise up.
Okay, Martin has while you think about that, Martin has a question.
I'm hearing about things being essential and keeping core infrastructure and not cutting those sort of things, so we don't have holes in the footpath to trip over and we don't stumble around because there's no street lights. And I'm sorry, but no way I can support almost $500,000 for a skate park. It's a nice to have. They might have raised funds, but Coromandel guys have raised funds for their bike park, and I can't support almost $500,000 for a skate park.
Murray,
I'd like to see how that fits in with the idea of core infrastructure. It's a nice to have.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't 235 being community raised and 235 is council?
I believe it's about 180 has been raised by the community. Alan might have a more accurate figure.
Okay, look, thank you, Martin. Right, John.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Martin, but I think we almost need to contract with the community over there with the fundraising that's been done. It may not be a legal document, but certainly into agreement with them, and I would like to see that retained. But I do like your idea about from a part of the reserve being deferred for a year, and I'd look again at the Hahe car park because I think that's unnecessary. So yeah, as far as the skateboard park goes, I think we should leave that alone. But look at those other options.
So it's a beach cut. There's two Hahe.
Yeah, it's the 50,000.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I would say for the skate park is it'll probably be constructed during the winter months because they wouldn't want to be constructed during the summer, I would have thought, visitor season. So if we actually split that project 235 in from sort of April through to 235 from July through to August, you're splitting the project over 2 financial years, so your impact is only 235 in a given financial year. So you're actually halving the cost of the project in that first financial year from the CapEx perspective, but you're still delivering the project in one go. That might be a nice way to actually do it, is to spread it over 2 financial years.
And sometimes with skate parks, they can do like the main thing and then the bowl can be part of the second.
Well, the most efficient way is to do it in one contract.
Yeah.
But that would then give 235 plus the 180 community funding to get it sort of really underway, and then you've just got 235 to finish it up from sort of July to July and August.
If it was to come across
2021. Yeah.
If it was to come across, say, as I'd say over. Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Hello, Gary or Terry.
I agree with what Rob's saying. Split the skate park in half. Take the 160 and the 50 out of the budget. If they want to keep their reserves or rethink them, let Murray and Tony have a discussion.
Gary,
Thank you, Sandra. I've just emailed to the council. Hopefully, it's gone through the Grayland Park pump track. This is the new thing. Skateboard parks are out and the family went there a couple of days in a row. All young people, everyone, you'll look at it, you'll see it come up. Skate park, old hat, pump parks are what people should be aiming for, and it's just a thing for the kids. It's amazing. So,
Okay.
right, thanks.
Your worship, Ellen here again.
Yes,
Can I just clarify, just so everyone's aware where the skate park is at, and apologies, Rob, that Rob wasn't familiar with the details. So the skate park design has basically been completed. Expressions of interest have gone out to prospective tenderers for that. So it is actually on a program where will be built in the pre-summer period, so late winter, early spring. So at the moment, it's on a program to be completed before this coming summer. Not to say that what Rob's suggesting is not an option, is just delay the whole thing so that it does get spread over those 2 years. But at present, the expectation is that it's going to be built before this coming summer.
Okay, so I'll go back to my suggestion now, which is that we move the 160,000 out for the Nelly Tatai Reserve, and that we just add in the 80 and the 70, 80 for the sheriff block and the 70 for the reserves renewals project.
And take out the 20 from.
No, we don't need to do that, because I think you need to leave 20 in for that during your car park ceiling. I think that's an important area, well used, and we can afford to do that if we just put out that one project for consultation out 1 year. You can afford to have those other few things happen, the sheriff block and the reserves renewals as you require them. Murray and Tony, you happy with that as a suggestion going forward?
We'll live with it.
So are you putting this on the floor to be moved?
Yeah, I am. I'm putting this out here as a, so I'm happy to move that.
Okay, so before you do, Sandra,
Yeah.
what about putting in another item, number 2, say, regarding item number 2612, that's the Hahe car park, removing that from the budget to 50,000?
No, we don't need to change anything.
To get what the boys want, no, but it's still actually.
We don't need to.
Well, I'm suggesting we should anyway, because it's something that's not really necessary at this stage. We don't need to modify any of the rest of the budget. Well, I think it is actually necessary. These are some of the most used, populated areas in the district, absolutely, by far. Yeah.
And so I'm reluctant to reduce some of that capital works projects in those areas. We do have a huge visitor population come through, regardless of COVID and lockdown. Don't forget, we're a high domestic visitor destination. And so by them, we've been prepared to put out I have to keep the Menetatai Reserve project.
Yeah.
That leaves us 30,000 in pocket.
I know. I'm hearing you, Sandra, and I fully appreciate that. I'm just thinking about trying to add some more fat in, because I don't know what's coming further down the line. This is an impact on district rates, this page, and it's not local rates.
Yeah, keep it as a thought if we need to come back.
If we need to come back, so you're saying that if we actually shoot over we can come back?
So now we're in pocket though, we're in a plus situation at the moment.
You don't want, okay.
If we do what I'm suggesting, we're actually in a plus situation. And that would be thank you to Murray and Tony for that. So
Sandra, I haven't finished discussing this one.
Sorry, Terry.
Listening to what John's saying, that figure at the bottom of the page is not set in stone. So why are you thinking we can't adjust it?
I didn't say that you couldn't.
You are. You're trying to work everything around to hit that figure. We're asking you to look at every project, and if it doesn't need it at the moment, defer it. That's what we're saying. Just defer it. We're not saying throw it out the door. We're just saying we're in a difficult time. John's raised a great point, the Hahe car park. Why can't that be one of the things that's not required at this time?
But Terry, if you defer everything, you run into a problem down the road too. Just be aware of that.
I realise that, Murray, but we are in a difficult situation, and you're asking a lot of people who have told us clearly they need to have some space and don't do anything that is not essential or poor.
So that's why we're working through it, Terry. Okay, Bruce has something to say?
So through the chair, the only thing I've mentioned about the Hahei Beach car park is that we proposed to cut from what was in there of 189 to 50. That's so we can keep moving forwards with the negotiations and the work with DOC around that. And I think that good points have been raised about obviously reduced international visitors, but also good points that we actually have a lot of domestic tourists that will still go there. And I think these things take a long time to resolve. So if we spend that 50 on getting those resolved, we'll be ready to hit the ground running when international population visitors numbers do come back. So I'd be, personally, I'd be a bit nervous if we just let that all go. So I think the 50 is appropriate.
We don't, through the chair, the figures, we do know 70% domestic visitors.
Okay, so I'll just reiterate that 70% of our visitor market is domestic.
Which is good for us, right?
Which is great for us because that's actually helped to prop us up through this really difficult lockdown period. So, so Terry, do you have any further questions around any of these projects on page 65?
Yes, just the Hot Water Beach paddock car park ceiling. Is that signed off at 55? It was a $200,000 project. The 55, is that a goer?
Yeah, that's underway at the moment. So that was from this year. It was a this year project that was committed, and then we've had to obviously pause during the lockdown.
And then can I step down one more? The beach Hot Water Beach car park ceiling was $469, now $95,000. Is that still?
It's the same situation as the other one. Yeah, it's underway. We're partly built.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all from you, Terry?
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Gary, did you have anything?
No, but do look at that thing I sent you on the pump park. You'll find it very interesting. That's the new way everything's going.
Okay, thank you. And so, right, so I'll to move that we put the medical reserve out for 1 year and that we add 70,000 to the Mercury Bay Mine Reserves projects and 80,000 to the Sheriff Block Development Project.
Yeah, we'll live with that.
So do I have a seconder for that? And everything else remains the same. Tony seconded that. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, so that concludes page 65. We're now on to page 66. Ryan Talanui. Are there anybody wishes to raise any matters in regard to page 66?
I'd like to raise one, which is the Tyrrell Skate Park. I'm not too sure if Ross Ashby's around. Is he at the meeting?
No.
Okay. Well, you may be able to talk about, Bruce, about this project, which is obviously was going to be was looked to be part of the Pepe Reserve and now looking for a new location.
Yes.
Is it looking for a new location again?
Is that Corey, right?
Do you know how many years that Tyra was trying to do?
I was on council, I believe, when that was still there.
It was way back, late 90s. Honestly, I really feel for Tairua. They have tried for a skate park for that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it you're wanting to raise, Terry?
Well, I just wanted to raise it that it's had a change in location. They couldn't make it work in the other one. So again, we've got some work to do here. So if that project was not requiring to move forward, you could look to defer that.
So through the chair, it's a community one with high expectation from the community, but if the
If it gets so little, I'm reluctant to change anything on this page at all.
Yeah.
Laura, would you like to make any comment here?
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to that, Terry, I've had several people come to see me. The current idea of going back on Curry Park is not going to fly. There's tremendous opposition. So, but in saying that, two of them come back to me with an alternative plan. That is to go back into the Pepe and shift the current playground, relocate that, and use that piece of land for a skate park or whatever you like to call it now. And there will be a workshop coming up next community board meeting. So it's going round and around again. But this idea has a lot going. So it's going to cost money, so at the moment, defer anything. And he would suggest we stop current negotiations with the affected residents alongside the proposal. It's not going to go.
So do you want to defer this for a year? Put it out for a year?
It's just not going to happen.
That year goes out again.
I just need some guidance here from Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce, on this Tairua skate park, we all know how long this is the wanted one.
Yes.
And we all know how difficult it is. The suggestion that Warwick said is what people want to do now is shift the playground, which is pretty sensible in my view, but that's just my view. This is a community project. He's saying that this would now need to be deferred. Yep. Do we need to keep some money though in pocket for any, like say 50,000 for design work or something like that if they actually land on a decision?
Yeah, my thoughts are if you want to keep it moving, you would hang on to something. 50k would probably be appropriate. It does sound, I haven't heard these latest ideas, but it does lend me towards thinking that it's kind of getting stretched out a little bit now. So I think it would, to hang on to the full amount doesn't feel like a good idea at the moment.
Yeah, through the chair, I would suggest 50k. The rest goes because the word scope creep comes to mind here. That not only are we trying to build a skate park, but we're actually trying to build a new playground as well because we shifted the playground to build a skate park. So there's a real scope creep in there. So we need to spend some money to find out what those costs will be, and then we can present a new project through the LGP.
So through the chair, I would add into that as well, that we've done this investigation already, but I tell us support.
Speak up.
I tell us to go into EDC that we do need to say $50,000 up for a year for those investigative works, but it is a massive project and it keeps on giving. So. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for Terry and Gary in particular, we're looking at leaving $50,000 in there and just as a contingency fund for the continued scoping around that whole project for the skate park. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair move considering what we're doing at the moment, in current situation. I would support that if Warwick's happy with that.
Okay.
Gary?
Okay.
Hello, Gary?
Can you hear me? No.
What?
I said it's okay with me. Can't you hear me?
No, you're cutting in and out.
It's okay with me.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. Right, awesome. Are there any other matters to raise on this page?
Do you need to move that?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for any other matters first, so Terry, to conclude the page, I'll move it at the end of the page.
We could do the whole CapEx program at the end if you wanted as well.
I'd quite like to move it page by page and that keeps it tidy, so we can always readjust it.
Yep.
So, did you want to move that, Terry?
Yeah, I'll move that way.
Okay, seconder?
Yeah.
John, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, we're now on to page 67. So, Terry, have you got anything you want to raise for page 67?
I think we've been again quite prudent here. We've really looked into this, but they've reduced the project scope at the moment on the boardwalk extensions, and there's not much left in there for us, but we're happy to continue on.
So what about the Whangamata boardwalk extension towards the bottom of the page? Is that committed? $295,000.
$295,000. We're only committing so much of that money this year to do a portion of it. So we're looking to, obviously, anything that's not spent to be pushed into the next year so it can be continued.
Well, is there anybody else got any comment? Are there any other comments on this page, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, just about the Whangamata boardwalk. Legally, where are we as far as environmental things and dock consents and because there's a whole lot of various threats of legal action and stuff. Is the council confident in that we've gone through all those processes, and are those threats from potentially some residents who live nearby just empty threats?
So through the chair, at the last community board meeting, Whangamata, and Terry might talk to this further, the project was cut back and they're looking at doing the boardwalk in front of the car park. And just doing it there, so not moving into the other area where there's dock reserve.
By the certificate,
yeah.
lifesaving.
Yeah, so it's been scaled back and doing just that we can get done in front of the car park, which is ours, our road. So yes, so not all that area that we're talking about.
But that's still got 295,000 in there.
So you've got two parts.
It's enough money with all these impact statements and all that have got to go through, but we're only doing the Esplanade section, which what Bruce says runs down to Graham Street. So that's the plan for this part of the project, and then we'll look at the rest later on as and when those impact statements that Martin's talking about and the dock sign off and all that through the dunes has been completed.
Through the chair, it's Gary here. I might be able to assist. I did receive from Derek Nolan, QC Council, saying they would live with that first bit we're talking about. But to answer Mark's question, let me tell you, there's going to be legal battles going on forever.
You're right, Gary, thank you.
What I'm trying to get at is that recommended annual plan Whangamata Beach Access Extension has got $295,000. What I'm hearing is that they mightn't spend that much, so why is it there? Why can it not be what they're actually going to spend this year and the rest be in consideration for long-term plan? Just to keep the figures straight. That's my question.
So can anyone ask that question of why we don't have a bit more clarity around the amount that will be spent just on the Esplanade Boardwalk project?
I haven't got the I've got numbers on hand. Apologies, I don't know if Erin is aware of the split of that project between the Esplanade section and then the other additional section. But I think costs have moved around quite a bit through the initial stages.
Yeah, through the chair, I can check that for you. At the moment, the last resolution was retaining at 295,000, so I can check in with what's there.
So it would be a shame to spend $295,000 on only a portion of the job that's called Creek as well.
I know this one, and it will be beneficial, and I think the Esplanade is a good place for it. There is no commitment yet made though to any contractor or anything like that, is there? So this is what could be deferred for a year.
I think it's
Your
been
worship, Ken Callum here. Could I say something?
Yes, Gary.
Ken.
Oh, sorry, Ken. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. The board has had a lot of feedback, as you can understand, from the community. Most of the opposition is in regards to the June section, which is this $179,000 that was in next year's budget. And the submissions were to the annual plan were around that $179,000. The board is quite happy to defer that $179,000 in the June and discuss it again as part of the long-term plan, so the community can have a full discussion about that section going through the sand. But the community pretty much were all happy with the Esplanade Drive section of the boardwalk, and that's what we're looking to spend the carried forward money for next year.
That's fine. I think we all understand that. in spite of not knowing what the proper amount is going to be, what that says is that there's nothing being contracted. It is a project that could be deferred. And we understand that this is a project that you're going to do, that everybody's supportive of, so that's fine. But in line with all of the other comments being made by Councillor Walker, clearly this project could also be put out another year.
Oh, it could, but we've already got the lowest capital project in the district, 607,000, compared to others around the $2 million mark. So I think it's a bit rough to start chopping it in half again when we've got such a small budget. The board would be very unhappy and so would the community.
This is not about picking winners and losers on what projects are going there. This is about us being prudent going forward and not looking at who's getting what where. I think it's just each project has been taken on its merits and whether or not these things can be put out here in light of the fiscal constraints that everybody's operating under.
So my question is, do we need $295,000 to do the extension that you want to do this year or not?
They don't know because they haven't properly costed the project because nothing's been entered into in terms of an actual project scope. They know what they want, where they want it. They haven't got together the data or the detail around it.
Through the chair, Your Worship, we do know what we want. We're doing a section of the boardwalk for $179,000.
No, sorry.
So that's my question. So if it's $180,000 to even things up, that means that we've got 95 plus 20,000, which is 115 or something. That doesn't have to be in the annual plan. It can be in the long-term plan.
We can actually put this out a year.
No, I'm debating another issue, not to delay it, but that they don't need 295.
So
they could have 180.
That's right.
Through the chair, I just jumped in and found the agenda item where it went to the board in Whangamata, and they did say it was 295 to complete the work they want to complete next year.
Okay, so the 180 isn't right.
The 179 is for that other section, the June section, so there's 295.
So it's on top of the 295.
On top of the 295, yeah.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For the 295, they could put out a year because they still have to do the final project scope. Nothing's been committed, so it could go a year out.
Yeah, it could, but we haven't done that with other things like the skate park and then which we could have. I can get the vote on that at some stage.
So,
Yeah, this is slightly different. This is strictly council, not the other groups involved with the state park. Like this is one that I can see going out very easily for a year with no ramifications.
the boardwalk.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely go out.
So I just wanted to be clear that in spite of all of the supports, etc., this is a project that could be deferred for a year, like some of the other things that have been done.
Yeah.
So that's all right. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine because it doesn't affect the current figures in any way if you just leave it.
Yeah.
All right. I just need everybody to be clear. That's all. So, are there any other matters, or are there any further matters, Martin?
So, I'm not trying to be funny or anything, that might come across that way, but I just think it's a bit joyless to take out the Christmas lights for the sake of $2,166. I mean,
Actually, I agree with you because I have to say,
we're not being
let's take it off. Let's take it off the boardwalk extension project and add that amount into doing the Christmas decorations. And I tell you, I actually support Martin, and the reason I say that is because Whangamata every Christmas consistently is the best looking place in the district, and it looks lovely.
So through the chair, it might seem like I'm the Christmas Grinch and I'm the one who put lines in at $2,000, but those reports have been greatly exaggerated, and I'm not. And they're actually the staff in Whangamata have said that money's not needed. That's why it's gone. It wasn't my knife that cut.
It's not needed to make it happen, or they can make it happen.
No, so that's around capital so making it happen. It will still happen. It's not reliant on this capital money, $2,000, whatever it was, to make it happen, so that's all
We can
fine.
go over there and check at Christmas.
Yeah, you can check, yeah. So yeah,
Terry,
they'll still go up, the lights will still go up, Christmas is not cancelled.
okay, that's all right. Jerry and Gary, you got any comments around those?
No, that's good. Bruce, you'll still get your Christmas present. It's all good.
We're just fighting for your lights. You want to keep your lights on. Okay, well, it looks like, are there any changes to page 67?
Well, I was going to defer the 295,000.
Not when somebody moves it or seconds it, and I don't see anybody moving, rushing to do that.
Well, I'm about to.
I don't know if you get this before. Because the figures are next.
Well, it just comes down to me, guys. It is a nice to have. It's not infrastructure. It's something that we're not going to miss for a year. It's not there. Put it out for a year, and we can actually save $5,000. So I'll move it.
Is there a seconder for putting it out a year?
No.
After the grilling that everybody else has had, Jerry, really? Okay.
I'll second it. I've got the lights on, happy.
So we have a mover and a seconder for putting it out. Look, I'm just going to say something about this Esplanade Boardwalk, and I'll say this. I think it will actually protect the dunes along that Esplanade. And the other thing it will do, it'll actually provide some additional places for people with wheelchairs to be actually enjoy their beach frontage. Because there are very few, the boardwalk in front of the Surf Lifesaving Club and along in front of the park, it's nice and wide, and it really is accessible.
Yep.
And I think it makes a big difference. I don't know if many people use it. I would hope that they do, because it's absolutely ideal, and we don't have many places for people that have physical challenges.
The chair, I can say that there's a lot of push to try and get people to get access to the beach, and our beach accesses are hopeless. So this boardwalk provides it for those who don't find it difficult to access the beach, to walk along and enjoy the beach atmosphere. So it's a key part of what we're trying to achieve, to allow the whole community to enjoy our assets.
Are you going to have steps or some sort of ramping down onto the beach from the boardwalk?
We are going to redo the boardwalk accesses, yep, and have rollout type areas that, so they can be, if they get washed out, can be relaid and laid down, so their beach accesses are a lot easier for people because they can't access at the moment. So the boardwalk along the top is a key area for people to enjoy for all walks of life. Otherwise, for those who find it difficult or aged, to those who can enjoy it.
Okay, I'll just say this. If this resolution fails, then we can come back to it if we need to. So it can be 295,000 in pocket should we be desperate to change some of the funding or some of the fiscal requirements. But I think as it stands, so I'll put the resolution, I'm going to take it to each individual councillor. Well, I need to ask, I'm not quite sure how to do this. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye. That was a loud aye.
It was a loud aye.
So this is to take that 295 out.
To push it out a year.
Yeah.
So I'm putting your resolution to put that boardwalk out a year. All those in favour, please say aye. And I've got an aye from John,
Aye.
an aye from Martin. Are there any other ayes? Sorry, guys.
Hey, that's right.
Again?
Yes. Yes.
That's good. It's good. So well, thank you very much, both of you. Yeah, Tony.
Just showing their hands.
Oh, no. I'm just really talking to Mario, saying you can push a lot of stuff out, but all that happens is you get a roadblock when you get to that. So what you think you're going to do next year, you'll never get to, because you'll be dealing with things you've deferred. So
we've got to go to
the cost to do anything you do in this game. So you know, I'm not in the camp of deferring everything, otherwise a lot of what we do need doing simply won't get done. And I'm aware of some major issues coming our way in a year or two.
Right, okay. So we now, what I think we'll do is, now before we move on to page 68, thank you Tony, before we move on to page 68, yes, Martin?
I was just going to suggest it might be a good time for a cup of tea.
Oh, I was going to, just say it, before we move on to page 68 and the district funded, we will now take a 10-minute recess, guys. Be back in 10 minutes. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, 10 minutes. No, Phil. Oh, we don't